Live.
You. Up and
your start.
woo! Hi, we're
Hi.
live.
All right.
Woo. All right. Welcome to On the Spot with Doris Jones, Labors of Love. Today we welcome genius writer Spike, and I listened to a YouTube video because I had to make sure that I knew how to pronounce your last name. And so if I say this wrong, correct me. But it's Steffenhagen.
Steffenhagen, yeah.
Steffenhagen. I couldn't remember. I couldn't tell. I'm not gonna lie. I listened to that video snippet of you introducing yourself like 10 times to try to get it. All right, Spike. So for all of the people that are watching or that may watch later, you get to confirm you did not receive today's interview questions ahead of time. You did not get to prepare, and you are legit going to be put on the spot.
I am on the spot.
Woo, yeah. All right. Well, then we're going to jump on in. And for those of you guys that are watching us, go ahead and make your comments in there. And if you have a question, you can pop it in later. We are going to have a on the spot from the floor question portion for today. The first part we're going to get into, Spike, is called rapid fire. I'm going to give you a word, and you're going to do whatever you want with it. It doesn't have to be a one-word answer. You can just go off on it. I don't care what you say. You are on the spot, and that part is yours. I'm just here to give you a word. Okay?
Okay.
Your first word is wham.
Lamb?
Wham.
Lamb of God.
What?
Lamb of God. Lamb of God is a killer band.
Okay. I think I teasingly call myself music stupid.
They're a metal band from Pennsylvania, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very good band.
What about failure?
Failure is a phobia.
Ooh, I like that association to that.
I don't.
No, but that's so crazy, like how easily, like I never would have put those two together, and then you just blew my mind.
It's horrible here.
Magic.
Believe in magic. Music is magic. Writing is magic, right?
Right? I totally agree. Like I truly believe it has a real legit way of putting us outside of this realm.
Yeah, Magic by Aleister Crowley.
Bubbles.
Bubbles. Powerpuff Girls.
Oh yeah. That's cool. Hero.
Shazam.
Shazam. I wouldn't have thought that you were gonna say Shazam.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was Superman, and then it was Batman, and now it's Shazam. So.
Oh, that's cool. Cracker Jacks.
Suck. Toys. Have you seen the toys that are in fucking Cracker Jacks?
Don't get me started. They're not the same as our youth, man.
And Shelly doesn't like it because there's not as many peanuts. Yeah, now when you, instead of like rings and tattoos, you get a code and then you can do something stupid on your phone. That's Cracker Jacks.
Who knew Cracker Jacks would get the longest response from you so far?
Resentment.
Cheese.
Cheese?
Another food item.
I ate a lot of cheese today.
I eat more cheese than I need to. Okay, gutter.
God. Blocked. I thought Oscar Wilde, and then I thought Rush. right? Because Oscar Wilde, it's been misquoted. I don't even know if he originally said it, but some of us are in the gutter, but we learn to stare at the stars. And then Rush, of course, the past, which reminds me of my mother. All of us get lost in the darkness. Dreamers learn to stare by the stars. And there's no gutter in there. See, I fucked it up. Sorry.
I do like the association of dark, like the word bringing you to a place of darkness or a memory of darkness.
Yeah.
You already shared on this, but music.
Music is life. Music is my church. It's my contact with a higher power.
Nice. Okay. Cokes.
Punk?
Cokes. C-O-X.
Coping strategies. I lack them. I actually work with people that really lack them, and they have to help me. So we're all fucked.
I know I'm gonna misquote it, but I know it goes something like this: if you think you can tell a woman what to do, try to coax a cat.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I'm totally paraphrasing that.
Oh, coax. Oh, sorry. I heard cope. My speakers are great.
What about jolt?
What about what?
Jolt.
Joke?
No, jolt, like J-O-L-T.
Oh, Jolt Cola.
Yay!
Yeah, that was my favorite. It turns out that the sugar was more responsible for the rush than the caffeine. So then I drank a bunch and got sad.
It was one of the, what is it, sugar crash?
Yeah.
Okay, frolic.
Frolic. I will not be frolicking on this video.
No frolic. I know you aren't great with sitting for a long period of time, so you have no idea how grateful I am to be that you're still on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, God, he hasn't moved.
There's very little frolicking going on because I would usually be frolicking and looking for dogs, and there's hardly any dogs out.
No.
It's living hell.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Okay. Scream.
Train?
Scream.
Oh, Scream. Primal Scream by Motley Crue.
Ooh, I love Motley Crue.
I don't know. I'm going to get my headphones so I can hear better.
Like these?
Yeah, those probably work. Oh, now I'm going to put on my headphones.
Okay.
And then I can, because my speakers suck and so does my hearing. So let's see.
I was beginning to think I had a speech impediment.
No, my computer. And several years of attending metal shows.
Yeah, that's common. Isn't that like a common effect or a common
Oh yeah.
thing for musicians and people attending?
Well, I'm a bass player. I wouldn't call myself a musician.
No, I know, but I was saying that that's not true. I have watched you play.
Oh, pretty bad.
I just want to, real quick, anyone who's watching, feel free to comment at will and throw in some questions down there for us to utilize later. Okay. You set?
We'll see.
Okay. Muse.
Muse?
Muse.
My muse is a dick. Fuck, man. Yeah.
Yes. You told me I didn't say a word to anyone about what I read.
No, I know. It's cool.
And I was hoping that was going to be your answer.
Yeah, well, so people get this romantic notion of being a writer or any kind of artist, and the muse came to me. You know what? Fuck my muse. Wakes me up in the middle of the fucking night. There's a whole chapter in the upcoming book about it. And people think it's like this almost erotic, pure thing. No, it's more of like a fucking S&M relationship. You know? And once I'm woken up, I have no option. You know, are you familiar with Jim Carroll?
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't say something else, because when you're talking about, what you're talking about, and you're like,
no, Jim Carroll. So he wrote the Basketball Diaries.
Oh, okay.
He's also written some really cool poetry. He was a heroin addict in New York City during the prime of the punk scene, and then he got in recovery and all that. Anyway, he that's the latest incarnation of my muse. Is a fucking dead heroin addict from New York.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
They can be inspiring. I've had a few people that have passed that have inspired quite a few of my
No, Doris. Now when he wakes me up, it says, "Hey, it's time to write, fucker." And I'm like, "What?" No, I'm fucking sleeping.
Yeah, interrupting my sleep was that's a whole different. You're gonna get a whole different response.
Yeah. And he's all, you can't go back to sleep and you can't masturbate. I don't anymore. I'm married, but back then he's like, yeah, you're not masturbating either. I'm like, you know what? You may keep me up, but you can't keep me from masturbating. And he said, really? If I turn into your grandmother, I can, which fucking. So yeah, fuck my muse, asshole. And they don't really give you shit. Give you a little spark, and then it's work.
Are we talking about the dick or the heroin guy?
The heroin guy.
Okay.
Well, all muses, because my muse just doesn't have a set form. It can be a female, it can be a dog, it can be a flower, it can be anything that inspires me. This one just happened to have stuck around for too long. So, yeah.
Well, okay. So, a few more words, and then we're going to move on. So, the next word is potty.
Potty?
Potty.
I'm glad I don't have to go potty right now.
Yeah, that's good. Don't. You're on the spot. You can't go anywhere. Hair.
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 Oh, hair. My hair is not any particular color.
You're growing it out, right?
I don't have an option. At this point. No, I do. I mean, I dye it myself, so.
I think whatever you do is going to be perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Axe.
Act?
Axe. Like
axe. Axe. If you're going to strike someone, strike them with an axe, not a pool cue or a bottle. Bottles don't really break like they do in the movies. And give them 40 whacks for Lizzie.
That's the song, right? That's a song.
Yeah, well, as a poem, Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, gave her mother 41. She didn't actually use an axe; she used a hatchet, but rose the beater off. Yeah.
Scary. Okay, so that's the end of our word portion. So I'm going to give you a phrase. It's just whatever, and you can go with it and see what it brings out of you, inspires, or whatever. And the first one is work it out and return to love.
Work it out and return to love?
Yep.
Work it out and return to love is possibly overrated. I think if there's too much to work out, then maybe you shouldn't fucking be in love. Maybe it's not love. Maybe it's toxicity. Disagreements happen, but really, I mean, sometimes there's not shit to work out. There's deal breakers and boundaries, and once those are crossed, then nothing to work out.
Great. I'm going to have to play this back over for myself.
I've done it for quite a while. So finally, I got it right. Finally, I think. I hope. So far.
I just adore all of the pictures of you two. I think it's amazing. Okay, everything has its place and time.
Everything has its place and time.
Not in time, and
time. Yeah, I would. I try to live my life like that, but when I want something, I tend to fucking want it right now. You know, and so I create my place and time. Usually, when I'm avoiding writing, you know, suddenly I have to clean something. It's fucking ridiculous.
Like you have to, or you have to because you're distracted, or you're deliberately.
I'm avoiding writing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Do not lump together the hard things.
Lump together or love together?
Lump.
Oh.
Do not
lump
together the hard things.
That is easier said than done. But moment by moment is sometimes what it comes down to. And just because my shoelace broke doesn't mean that my wife's going to die in a car accident, you know, which is where my head goes. You know, I'm very neurotic. And if I'm still breathing air, there's hope, you know, no matter how shitty it gets sometimes. So, but if I look at every single bad thing that's going on, then there's no point in even getting out of bed, you know.
I like the still breathing part. I can totally relate. The still breathing, totally relate.
Have you read The Road Less Traveled?
I don't think I've ever read it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's got like one of the greatest first lines. Life is difficult. I'm like, well, this isn't very fucking uplifting. But it's true.
Life is, it is what it is.
Well, what else would it be?
Right? But, you know, I know it's not my original quote, but I've learned that if I make a concerted choice to love life, it will love me back. It has everything to do with attitude. Totally. Yeah. For me, if I love it, even if it's not lovable, I try to figure out somehow. Okay, I hate this situation, but I'm going to try to love myself, love it through.
Well, I had a very awful day on October 7th of 1986, and it's never gotten that bad. That was the last day that I was loaded, so it's never been that bad.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a day as bad as my old days. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Dory 5. These are my own personal Spike questions, very unique to you. I didn't get them from anywhere. They were completely prepared for you.
Okay.
What keeps you the most engaged when working on a story? What'll keep you from finding something to clean so you'll keep writing?
The nightmares. When I don't write, when I have something going on, I have these, I don't even know if I call them nightmares, but I can't sleep well. And when I finally give into it, then it's the story itself, because I already know how it's going to end. I'm just getting there. That's usually the gift of the muse, is that first line or last line. So yeah, it's hard to say. Story keeps me engaged, and I think that if I'm that interested in reading it, then when I go back and rewrite it, then it usually works.
I can relate to that for sure.
Yeah.
I've had a few things I've written that I just flat out just discarded because I didn't want to. It wasn't something I wanted to read myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, mind you, you can be as off the cuff as you want, Spike. I got no rules for how you reply to these.
Okay.
What do you feel is the biggest difference between a male writer and a female writer?
Well, it's different life experiences. It's in the majority of interactions, there's two schools of thought that males should guide males through recovery type stuff, and females should, because we're all the same, and that's really fucking cool, but that's egotistical. I will never know what it's like to carry a child. I will never know what it's like to lose a child. I will never know what it's like to be trafficked to that level and have it be accepted. And it's life experience. There are probably some male writers and some female writers that can kind of pull it off, but I think that life experience in life view is going to be a lot different. The story that I sent you is pretty horrific in some parts, but it's nothing in comparison to Sapphire's book Push, which Precious was based on. There's just different life experiences, and I think that that trying to make everyone the same beyond just being human beings is fucking stupid. And ironically, most of my early influencers were women writers. So Shirley Jackson, Flannery O'Connor, Sylvia Plath. I could never fucking write that, ever. So.
Thank you. I actually, as I was reading your book that you sent me, the excerpt, I have a reading list for myself now. Thanks. I have a must read, must find, must search. I gave myself as an assignment as I was reading your work.
Cool. Awesome.
So during your profession, what made you the most scared?
Which profession?
Whichever one you want to share about.
I'll share about both. Writing, I was never scared. Actually, that's not true. I was terrified one time because there was a man named George Clayton Johnson, and he wrote for the Twilight Zone, and he wrote Star Trek, and he wrote Kung Fu, and he was co-writer of Logan's Run. And I got under very, very serious supervision, I got to adapt an unfilmed Twilight Zone script for a comic. So I did that, and it was at the time that the unauthorized Kiss books were out, and there was a little bit of a war going on between the publisher and me and the artist, and the editor, J. Allen Sanford, kept saying, "George is looking for you," and I'm like, I was scared, because I didn't want to disappoint him, and oh my god, I'm getting all fucking emo now. So we agreed to do a signing, and George, if you've never seen a picture of George, he always had one of those down vests and a straw hat, and he was an old hippie, right? And this was like 90, right? So he'd been growing his beard forever, right? And there's this diminutive guy that looks like that, and we had agreed to sign some Kiss books. So he went there, and I couldn't get out of it. And Jay introduced us, and he took my hand. I went to shake his hand, and he took it in his hand in this really just sweet way and said, "I just want to thank you. Out of all the adaptations I've ever been part of, you were the truest to my work." And I just watched it. Oh my god.
Me tear up. Oh my god.
Yeah. So that was Yeah. In my profession, I think every time a state review comes up, I'm convinced that they're going to find out I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Every single time. So, and I've been doing it as long as writing, so it's the whole thing.
I'm fairly certain you know what you're doing.
I don't know, man. I kind of stumbled into it, and then I stumbled into writing too. So.
I can't speak for you, but I think that the truly creative feel the way you're expressing, because it doesn't feel like it. I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say it comes easy to
No.
it, but I think that if it does, it can make us question it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do you feel is the most heinous thing that anyone's ever done to you throughout your career?
Throughout my career or throughout my life?
I'll go with career.
I'll go with career.
Whatever. Well, however you want to answer that one.
Well, in my writing career, there was millions of dollars being waved in front of our faces, but then and that was the incident that I was talking about, where me and the artist wouldn't sign because there was some issues. So what had happened was the guy that was putting the money into it told my friend, the artist, that you're lucky to be working for us. You should keep your fucking mouth shut. So that did not go over very well.
I can't imagine anyone telling you to keep your mouth shut.
Well, it wasn't me. It was my friend. So I proceeded to. There was a negotiation. This guy owned the rights to Marilyn Monroe and all this shit. And so I demanded that they feed me lunch. And it was at Comic-Con.
Okay.
And so he got me a hot dog, and I put every condiment known to man on just to be a fucking asshole. And it was all over me. And he looked at me and said, "Would you like a napkin?" I said, "Yeah, why don't you go fucking get me one?" So yeah, that was pretty fucked up. I think selling my autograph is pretty heinous. I think that's probably the worst, because I see it going for like $50 or $60, which I find moronic. I mean, I'll sign anything. People send it to me, I'll sign it. So, and there's just this inflated value on eBay sometimes. Like, I can't even afford some of my books. That's great.
I think it may have been like when I asked your advice and got your advice about publishing my poetry.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those people that it was, God, how old am I? I was 47, I think, before I let anyone read my poetry or look at any of my art.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did, because it's really good.
Thank you. Because none of it, not a single piece I've ever created or put down was ever intended to make me any money.
Yeah, I was, I think, well, just because the way I stumbled into it, I wrote the story, and then it was sold, and then it was all about, especially with the rock biographies, I had to pay the rent.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to say now, I'm not going to say I wouldn't mind getting paid.
Right.
It just, for so many years, the idea of even doing that just didn't. I love what you said about the autograph thing. Okay, one last one, and then we're going to move on to questions from the floor. So for those of you guys who are watching, now is the time to start posting some questions in there, because after Spike answers this one, we're going to have Elena help intro us into our audience questions. So the last question is, to you, Spike, what is the biggest difference between a grown-up and someone who's not a grown-up?
Well, the reason that I like Shazam is because the concept of a child in a grown-up body really resonates with me.
I've dated a few of them. Yes.
Yeah, I think there's a level of responsibility that comes with being a responsible person. That comes with adulthood. You know, pay my fucking bills, most of them, and don't lay it on other people. You know, I mean, when I do shit, good, bad, or indifferent, I own it. You know, I'm not going to apologize necessarily, which is always fun. You know, some people think that an apology fixes anything. If I'm not sorry, I'm. So yeah, I think that treating people with a certain amount of respect and, you know, yeah.
No, I love the owning it part. That's, I totally couldn't agree more. Okay, so before we jump into the questions in our comment section, I'm going to bring Elena into the broadcast, and she's going to ask you her personalized, Spike unique questions that she came up with after really looking into some of your stuff.
Okay.
Hi, Elena. You're on with us, but you're muted. Unmute. Guest cannot. Maybe she wasn't ready. Here she is.
Hi, guys.
All right, Elena.
I've got my questions ready. All right.
All right.
The first one, you said once boundaries are crossed in a relationship that was once rooted in love, there's no going back. How do you go about setting those boundaries in the first place?
I have a conversation with the person that I'm interested in and see if the boundaries match. So I'm pretty, well, I think I'm pretty cool, but pretty cool too. But, you know, name calling, don't fucking call me names. If you think I'm a dick, you shouldn't be with me. You know, passive aggression doesn't fly with me, and cheating is not an option. And I find cheating very stringent. I don't think it's too stringent. I think that if I need attention from other females, then I need to not be in the relationship. And I think that applies as well to my wife. You know, I mean, yeah, a compliment is one thing, but seeking attention is another. And I have a lot of female friends. My wife has male friends that she grew up with. I don't find it necessary to go to coffee with new female friends, that type of thing. So a lot of it has to do with honesty and motive, and yeah, so that's how I establish it.
Rad. It sounds very healthy.
Wow.
All right, next question. What inspired you to write about Joan Jett?
So I was doing hard rock comics at the time, and you know, some generations have Ginger or Marianne, that type of thing. I was always a rocker, so I was always kind of Joan Jett or Lita Ford because they were both in the Runaways. And initially, I wanted to write a full Runaways issue. So that was the original book. And my goal was to make Kim Fowley, who was their manager, handler, whatever, look like a fucking dick because he was a fucking dick. And I really wanted to do a whole Joan Jett book, like 30 pages, because Joan was always out of those two, the one I wanted to hang out with. Like Lita Ford, and they're both very talented, but Lita always looked like a cartoon character of the guys on the Sunset Strip with the big hair and all that shit, which was so not me. And Joan looked like the kind of girl that you could just hang out and have fun, you know, probably get in a brawl, you know. It'd be cool. And her voice is incredible. And I've gotten to see both. I know it's off track, but so I got to see both, and I saw Lita, and she came out, you know, and she did her whole like bending over so you could see her ass, which, yeah, whatever. I'm not 15 anymore. And And then when I saw Joan Jett, it was at the Del Mar Fair, and she's so fucking tiny, man, right? But she walks out and she's just casual, and she plugged in that guitar. Oh my God, I got goosebumps. She plugged in that fucking guitar, and it was just like, just all the focus, man. She's just, man. When I wanted to play guitar, I wanted to sound like her and Kiss. And I didn't have the attitude or the talent for either, so that's what inspired me to. I love Joan.
I know it's Elena's thing, but the Joan Jett comic the one that's what I ordered already. It's on its way, and I saw her down in San Diego at Gay Pride, and I've never seen a performer better in live than her.
She's great, and then she breaks out. I don't know if she did when you saw her, but she broke out "I Want to Be Your Dog" by Iggy and the Stooges, and fucking owned it. You know, like who can do that?
She's just. Oh. Yeah, I got goosebumps too with just listening to you talk about her. So, off track or not, I'm good.
Still sorry, Elena.
You have one more, right, Elena?
I do have one more.
Yeah.
Last one. Do you hate the new toys in the Cracker Jacks more than the Cracker Jacks themselves?
Well, me and my wife are kind of split on that. She hates that there's not a lot of peanuts in it. There's less. And I hate the toy thing. So I forget where we were, but we saw Cracker Jacks and we're like, ooh, it's kind of a munchy thing, road trip or something. And we were both bitterly disappointed. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. I'm sorry.
No, I just was saying thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Elena.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, Spike. So real quick before I give you, I'm going to give you some questions that have been put into our comments. When we started and I gave you the word failure, I wanted to share that Leanne Knapp said failure is not an option.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, that's kind of like using is not an option. It's always an option.
It is always an option. I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think
it shouldn't be the option.
Well, no, I mean, I've got a lot of other options, but as far as failure not being an option, there are things that are so far out of my control, so I've needed to redefine what failure and success is to me.
Right.
When I was meeting with one of my editors, because I've got like a million. This guy's name is Garen Wolf. He actually has a closet full of Emmys from writing for General Hospital. And he got Susan Lucci her award finally. But mostly he wrote Batman the Animated Series, so that's why I'll listen to him. And I was sitting there and he offered some suggestions on some things for the book, and I was like, He said, well, do you want it to sell? And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And he said, well, then why are you publishing it? And I was like, oh. So maybe success with writing is that I complete it, because I think that measuring any art by monetary success is ridiculous, but I've failed at a lot of shit. I fail every time I pick up my bass and attempt to learn 70s disco. Man, that shit's fucking hard. But I keep doing it. So
I love when you were saying it has to be like kind of defined. Like failure is going to be what you define it as. And I know for me, I was such a procrastinator, as I said, I've been not sharing any of my stuff that if I finish anything, like actually pull it off and finish it, oh good.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as that. I wanted to share just real quick. My brother was watching, and he's a total Twilight Zone fan. And he said,
"Awesome!
Now you're talking. You're mentioning Twilight Zone." And a question from Kate Grzinski wants to know, what is the best vampire movie?
Does it have to be a movie? No, it's not Twilight.
Shelley. Question. It's just like best vampire movie.
Yeah. My favorite is not a movie. It was True Blood.
Oh, yeah. That's a TV show.
Yeah, but I guess that's not going to count unless you call it a 12-hour movie. God. The Hunger with David Bowie is great. Vamp. I think Vamp was probably the one that fucked me up the most. Tammy says Lost Boys. See, I mean,
Tammy,
as far as my personal favorite vampire movie, it would have to be Bela Lugosi's Dracula. And I like the Hammer films. Christopher Lee was, I think, a great Dracula, but I also started watching those around 12 or 13, so puberty was hitting, and the Hammer Girls did not, because part of this in a book on an essay I did, but I used to get really irritated waiting for the monster to show up, and the Hammer films, because I started seeing them when I was 12 or 13, having the Hammer Girls just run around like they did, I can wait for the monster. It's cool.
Both my brother and Tammy both said Lost Boys.
Lost Boys is classic. Yeah.
It's a classic, I think, and I think it just, for me, it's one of those vampire movies that crosses over to a pop culture of people in a general way that's it's a little different than some of the vampire movies that are dark or they're dramatic. Lost Boys was one of those ones that kind of when it came out too, it covered so many bases of taste and what people liked from movies.
And the ending is classic.
Well, and it's Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
I can't.
Tammy says Lost Boys also happened in puberty.
Right? Exactly.
Yes, Tammy, but most of them were not the Hammer Girls.
For me, Lost Boys is one of those movies from when I was younger that when I shared that with my kids, they immediately took to it, and it didn't matter that it was older, that it was an older. But I wanted to share real quick before we move on to the next question that for me, not that this question was for me because you're the one on the spot, not me, but my favorite vampire book of all time is Interview with the Vampire. And unfortunately, the movie did not live up to the book. What do you feel about that? How do you feel on that? I need to know your thoughts on
that. I have this weird thing with Anne Rice in general. I thought that the movie came as close to the book as it possibly could because there's so much stuff going on in her books. I got tired of her shit, quite frankly. I got to be honest, man. Okay.
That's exactly the point. Be honest.
I understand that the menstrual cycle exists. Okay. I understand it's probably really fucking hard. I don't need to suffer from it. You know, I mean, even my beloved wife. Part of the honesty thing was, look, if you have PMS, my attitude is, here is some chocolate, here is some Midol. Please don't. And wine, because she drinks wine. You know, just fucking. And Anne Rice did a lot of cool stuff. And I don't think it was necessary in every book to have Lestat suck on a maxi pad to save his fucking life. You know, every fucking book, man. The last one maybe not everyone. The last one I read was Memnick the Devil, which was, did you read that one?
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant, right? I mean, he's talking to Satan, heaven, hell, right?
Like, of all her books I've read, that is my second favorite.
Oh, it's great. And then he's got to go for the maxi pad. It's like, why? Just fucking bite someone. Be a fucking vampire. God.
Okay. So.
Tammy can't with Anne Rice either.
I think it's more because she refuses to have her books edited. I can't. I just read the part about I can't. And you know,
yeah.
I can see Tammy's eye roll while she says that. Okay. So for those of you watching, we need questions. And while we're waiting for another question from the floor, I'm going to ask you, Spike, what's your favorite cuss word?
My favorite cuss word, cocksucker.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite cuss word? What's the least favorite? We don't need it. What is it?
Damn.
Damn. It's kind of basic.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like old people when I was growing up.
Damn.
Thinking they were hardcore. Damn hair. Fuck you, cocksucker.
That's us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, greatest turn on.
Greatest turn on? God, my wife.
I knew you were gonna say. You were gonna say your wife.
And the reason for that is she has the biggest heart ever, the greatest sense of humor, and she's intelligent. I mean, intelligence is a huge thing, and I don't need to talk to a PhD in literature, but right. It's kind of, I think intelligence is more a matter of operating within what we know and what we're familiar with, instead of going out on a limb trying to impress people.
Right.
So, yeah.
What about biggest turn off?
Trying to think of one word that would phrase it, but I've always had this thing with women that will bat their eyes at me and expect me to jump just because they have a vagina, whether I'm single or not. It's like, lady, you got a vagina. Someone's going to fuck you. It ain't going to be me. I mean, it just that there's this expectation because, it does nothing for me. In fact, I find it very insulting. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a big turnoff. Yeah.
All right. I don't. Let's see. Okay, so what activity do you love? What do you love?
Music. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. You. I also know that you like taking selfies with dogs.
I do. So, do you want to hear the story of the selfie stick and how it came to be?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I was going up to Hollywood, and I was going alone, and it was at a period of my life where I was going to do every fucking thing alone, and it was a Halloween thing, and I had this whole tour planned. I was going to go see Bela Lugosi's grave. Okay. And go see drive-in or a movie theater graveyard and all this other stuff, right? So it turned out that there was no movie in the graveyard, but I did see Night of the Living or Dawn of the Dead at the $1 Million Theater, which was Sid Grauman's other theater, and it hadn't been renovated since the 70s, right? So that was cool. And I had a whole list of people that I was going to visit their graves. And the first one was Bella. It would have been Boris, but he's buried in England. And I thought it would be rude to disturb people in a graveyard. So I got this selfie stick. And I get it. I'm like, this is the stupidest fucking thing I have ever seen in my life. And I found that people agreed with me, especially when I started taking their selfies. And it just kind of went from there. And so I kept doing it, and what's happened over the past 6 years is that on Facebook Memories, I've got all these pictures with people, and some of them aren't around anymore. Some people die unexpectedly, and I got a picture of my friend Jen with a chicken, because we saw in North Park randomly, and I did take my selfie on Bella's grave, but that of course turned out to be a truly depressing story. Want to hear it?
Oh, a different story?
Huh? Oh, so Bela Lugosi's grave. He's buried at Holy Cross Cemetery, I believe it's called. And so I'm it's this big Catholic cemetery, right? It's got fucking grottos with the Virgin Mary and all this stuff. that's freaking me out from my upbringing, right? So, so I'm a little scared, right?
Right.
So I finally found it, right? And I look over, and there was a picture, and there was a flower. I said, oh, well, this is interesting. So I go over, and it was a fake flower, and it was a faded picture. It was Sharon Tate, who was killed by Manson in the Helter Skelter murders, and suddenly things got very real. And then I went over to Bella's, and I did a little video from there, and I got like, I'm a monster kid, so it was growing up. Those classic movies were kind of picked on as stupid, but I love them, and I just wanted to tell Bella that there was at least a few of us that would never forget him. I fucking started crying there and shit.
Aww.
Nah.
Okay. So Tammy wanted to say, she's commented that she loves how straightforward and genuine you are.
Thank you.
And if heaven exists, okay, so like if heaven exists, Spike, what do you want to hear God say when you get there?
Jackass.
What do you think he's going to say? Really? You don't really want him to call you a jackass.
Well, I see well, we'll use God as whatever, as having a sense of humor, you know, and as long as I'm not harming anyone, especially myself, then I think we're cool, you know. I mean, I think if Jesus came back, he'd probably be a pothead. I think he'd appreciate my taste in music, you know.
Yeah.
Probably trying to get me to buy him dinner, and I'd be like, "Well, that didn't work out for you last time, dude. How about you fucking spot it?"
I would wash his feet.
Huh?
I'd wash his feet.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that I don't think that I had to grow out of God punishing me for thinking of jerking off. You know, I'm a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No bullshit, no sugarcoating. If you could damn one person to hell, who would it be?
Any child molester. I think any child molester, but then my second thought is they're collaborators, because I don't know what's worse, the fact that there are baby rapers or the fact that there's judges that collaborate with them, and it is collaboration.
Yeah.
So that would be a tough. Yeah, that'd be tough.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for letting us put you on the spike today.
Cool.
You are officially off the spot.
All right.
All right. What?
Oh, Shelly asked.
So now that you're off the spot, Spike, you get to just take a moment, take a beat, and ask me one question and put me on the spot.
When is your next book coming out?
Oh my God. I've been writing. I do, I don't have a plan yet. I don't have any anticipated date, but I did. I got as far as creating the folder on my computer to start putting them, because I will write stuff on my Facebook art page and just post it like directly to the page.
Yeah.
It's not even in a Word document,
Yeah.
So with this whole like stay at home thing, my godson Jay says, "I love this guy, Mama Dory."
All right. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you for asking me and putting me on the spot, because that definitely puts me on the spot, because I have gotten a few things done, but I've got more to do. All right.
Yeah. Well, you notice I didn't give a release date for my book.
Do you have a release date for it?
No. Shelly's gonna go through it, and I'm gonna distract her so she can't.
how is that going? Like, so what's your? We've got like 5 minutes, so if you want to, let's talk about that book you're working on right now. What it's about, what you want to say about it, what you want to share. Anything?
The only thing that ties it together is me. There's some stories in there. There's some of my infamous lists. There's becoming a writer. I actually have a writing class in it. It's about 5 pages long, which is funny. And then there's stuff that's maybe not so funny. And yeah, so.
I know I was going to ask you. So tell me about this blog. I call it a blog. I don't know if you call it a blog, but the thing you're doing right now called Fuck the News.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
about that.
Well, pretty much most of what I write is satire on Facebook, whether it's a list on how to meet that perfect person or, you know, whatever. And I don't really look at people's walls too much, but I've noticed this just willingness to believe whatever. And it's not like the one today was about the guy that gets a mayoral nomination because of his Facebook. And I don't think that it's that much of a leap. My brain is a carnival, but it's run by Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine. So that helps see everything. And
my brain is a carnival. I love that.
Well, it was a circus, but then I hate clowns, so a carnival describes it better. It's got a lot of distractions and bright lights and cotton candy, and sometimes I win prizes. Yes, popcorn. Can my wife say hi?
Absolutely, bring her on.
She doesn't want to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she doesn't want to. Yeah, so it just hit me that as long as there's going to be fake news, why shouldn't it amuse me? And it does.
Right? I love everything about those things that you write, because some of the movie reviews I totally agree, and then some I don't. But most of the time, you remind me of someone who knows how to poke the holes in what other people have as perceptions, misperceived, like the ones that don't want to see behind the screen. Like you're like the guy. Yeah. You're like the guy ripping the fucking curtain out in front of Oz. Everybody else thinks Oz is still right. Like he's the what do they call him, a wizard or whatever.
Yeah, the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and you're like, no, he's a fucking guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the lists and stuff, a lot of the lists are just kind of my way to. Oh, Beastie wants to say hi. This is the asshole cat. Catch me in 2 seconds.
Silas Batiste, I hope I said that right. He said,
you did.
Way to rock it.
Oh, thanks. Silas is my brother.
Oh, hey, bro.
Yeah.
Hi, Silas.
My bro tuned in. Your bro tuned in. That's right.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. So, anyone that found me amusing can friend me on Facebook. I'll accept your request.
Right, and I you know that. Oh my God, Spike, that reminds me. I was supposed to have your little ticker running at the bottom, and I totally forgot.
That's okay. Most of it was work for hire, so I don't get paid for sales anyway.
But yes, it's gonna come back around, okay? Because it says Spike's books can be found on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and I did order Joan Jett and the Runaways, and last time I looked, it's on the way.
Awesome.
I was so excited, and then so when I commented, we have 1 minute, and then we're gonna sign off. When I commented that you have a YouTube, did you forget you had a YouTube?
Yes. I forgot I had a Twitter too. So the reason I had a Twitter is because I wanted to win tickets to see the movie Code Blue by Jack Grisham, the singer for TSOL. It's about fucking corpses. It's really cool. Yeah, so that's why I had a Twitter, because I have nothing to tweet. Sorry. Yeah, and I had a YouTube because I'd done those panels on Bride of Frankenstein, so that's why I never forgot about it.
Well, not that I couldn't talk to you all day, all for much longer, Spike. I'm gonna let you go back to wife and the pets, and go back to your life. And I thank you so much for letting us put you on the spot.
Well, maybe we'll do it again when the book's ready.
That would be awesome. I would absolutely love that. Love it. Thank you so much. So grateful that you agreed and that you were willing to come on.
This is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.